Hi, my name's Keegan. I'm the host of Engineers and Automation. On today's episode, we're going to be talking with Jacob Sanchez. He's a industrial analyst and a social media content creator. We're going to talk a little bit about his background, getting his start in automation. We're going to talk about his current role as a host on a very popular YouTube channel. We're also going to talk about his current roles and what he does in his free time. Now let's go talk automation. And welcome to episode 18. I'm here with Jacob Sanchez. He's an industry analyst and content creator. Jacob, welcome to today's show.
I'm hyped, brother. How's it going, everybody?
Great. It's great to have you. And also great. You're the last one of the year. So I appreciate
Ooh,
you joining in December here. How are things going for you so far this year? Can you give us a little bit of how's your year been since we're close to year end right now?
good. I mean, I literally just celebrated how much of a good year I've had by going to Japan for 20 days.
Wow.
The whole reason for that, one of my buddies in the industry, Chris Elston, he works for YRG Robotics for Yamaha. Um, he threw out this idea of, hey, one of the biggest robotics shows in the world happens in Japan every 2 years, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. It's cool. I'll go. And I wasn't going to go. And as I got closer towards the end of the year, I was like, you know what? All this success that I've had and been lucky enough to have and humble enough to have the experience I've had, like celebrate a little bit. So I planned this whole trip and went out there for a 4-day robotics trade show. And then the other like 15 days was just traveling through Japan.
Oh, cool. I bet that was absolutely amazing. Let me ask though, what were some of the things that you noted that are different from trade shows over there than they are
Yeah.
from over here, maybe in North America?
So that was one of the coolest, like the reason I wanted to do this was for the vacation, but also for like the experience of seeing how business is done in general in a foreign country.
Yep.
And when it comes to trade shows in particular, I loved, I'll start with something I loved and then something I thought was just a little, I won't say it was bad, it was just funny.
Okay.
So I loved that it didn't matter that if it was in the US, Japan, I bet it doesn't matter if it's in Europe. They have a focus on educating and education. So on Saturday, they redid like a portion of one of the halls, busted everything out of there, and turned it into like this play area of education for kids to come in.
Wow.
They had a Vex robotics area where kids can actually come and sign up for times and build a robot. You can do a little like test competition. There was like this paper mache business thing where they could build like these apes and bugs and stuff and then fight with them or something.
Oh, cool.
There was a maze running robot and the kids could make their own little maze, and then they talk about how the robot uses vision to see blockage and it remembers where the blockage is and it'll path its way to eventually find the exit. There was aquatic robots that the kids could drive and learn about.
Cool.
um, it was refreshing to see that and know that these trade shows everywhere, hopefully everywhere around the world, realize the emphasis you need to put on educating people, like
Yes.
just ordinary people, just the kids, to just have fun. Like not none of that stuff was like, oh hey, if you're gonna drive this aquatic robot, this is gonna be your job in like 20 years, blah blah blah. Oh,
Right.
it was just having fun.
Cool.
It was just fun. There was some VR and augmented reality stuff for drones and things. That was cool to see. That was
Very,
really
very cool to get the younger generation involved there. I think you and like many others are always pushing for
yeah.
having the younger generation involved and teaching them about robotics and automation. So that's cool to
Yeah.
see that they're doing that with their um, events there.
Yep, that made me really happy. I've been in education for a long time. Even when I was in high school, still going to school, I was in education, teaching teachers, and we'll get into that later. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I thought was funny was how many parts of people's booths that had these big, like, do not film signs on it.
Okay.
But the product that they didn't want you to film was like a product release. Like it was like a new product They're like, hey, here's this new product, check this out,
Right.
but like don't show anybody. And I'm like, why would and I may not understand it fully, but just a part of me was like, if I have a new product out, like when Apple comes out with a new iPhone, they're not like, don't show off your iPhone. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Don't show
um,
anybody you just bought this.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I had some leeway because I was press, so I actually got a press badge from the
Cool.
show. I got to talk with the show owners and lots of cool stuff. But even some of the things at Boost, even the press badge, the people were like, "No, like do not film this." I was like, "Okay."
Interesting.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty.
weird. Yeah, I've never heard of that, especially if you are literally showing everyone your product
Like
at
one
a
of the
show like
guys
that.
told me too. I was like, "Well, what is this?" And they're like, "Oh, it's our newest product." And I won't say what it was, but I was looking at it and I was like, I've seen a product like this at least three other businesses. Like it's not that
Yeah.
innovative to,
Proprietary.
yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I was like, oh, to each his own. Okay, you know.
Interesting. Cool. And let's back up just a second here. Then let's go all the way back. How did you get your start in automation then?
Yeah, my start in automation didn't come until I got a start in manufacturing. So CNC machining to be specific.
Right.
Um, and this came from like me having nobody in my family in this background. I never knew this industry existed. I thought engineers were like Tony Stark growing up and Iron Man. So I obviously thought it was like impossible. It was like a fantasy to be an engineer. Um, and so that was my idea. That's all that I had in my head about this industry. The only reason that I even got into a manufacturing class in freshman year of high school is because I moved to a new place. I had to follow my mom's job because single mom and all that. So wherever the job went, we had to go.
Yeah.
Moved to a new place, no friends, no family. Picked my high school, and then I was signing up for electives and stuff. And I was like, I wasn't a delinquent. I was a tough kid, I guess, in school. I got like tried to get C's and talked back when I probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So that was me. And I was trying to get the easy A's. So I signed up for cooking class because in every high school movie ever, like you sign up for cooking class for an easy A.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody else knew that. So it was full. And the school throws you into whatever's open.
Right.
And engineering class was open. And I was pissed. My first week of school, I found out my elective got changed, and I go in this engineering room with all these like computers. And the first like thing we did was you have to like make a paper airplane out of construction paper. I hate arts and crafts. I can't express how mad I was. So that was my first like touchdown into the engineering manufacturing world.
Yeah.
Long story short, with that, I didn't really dive into CNC machining, is what I would end up getting into until like I just asked the teacher because I didn't like going home. I was like, hey, can I just like clean your shop and I don't have to go home? I'll just clean your shop. And so I got to get away from the computers and see the CNC machines and see what a machine shop looks like. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, what's that sharp thing over there?
Yeah.
And I learned outside of class how to like run a manual lathe. I made a ring and zero point zero 0.01 lines, four sets across the thing, dialed in, beautiful. And people were impressed and they thought I bought it. And I was like, no, I made it. And that made them even more impressed. So I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
a skill like not everybody has.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just went down that rabbit hole. And I eventually started working for a company called Titans of CNC Academy.
Uh-huh.
They're the world's largest teacher and distributor for education in the CNC machining realm. And I got hired by them right out of high school and became a 5-axis machinist, programmer, setup guy, 4-axis, running different types of CNC mills, Haas, Fanuc, Doosan, DMG. Um, and we ended up turning into like an education studio where we started doing videos, teaching people,
Wow.
getting sponsorships. I was on camera doing educational videos. And then I found out about robots. So, like, it took me what? How long was that? 5 or 6 years in the CNC machining world before I even saw my first robot.
Wow.
And then once I found out about robotics and like automation, I was like, oh, dude, I was like, I love cutting chips, but I don't want to do it forever.
Yeah.
So I moved from California to Texas with this Titans of CNC company. and then had a company that I met at a trade show once hire me, Edgewater Automation, from Michigan. So
Yep.
they flew me out from Texas to Michigan, moved away from family and friends again to knowing nobody, and started my automation journey as an application engineer, which I did for, I think, almost 2 years. I think I did it, yeah, 2 years, almost 3 years.
Okay.
Designing cells for we were a custom automation integrator.
Okay. Yep. Yep. I'm fairly familiar with them being from Michigan as well.
Mhm. Nice.
And then so what are you doing now then? What's on your plate now? I know you're
So
fairly busy.
so now I just left my engineering job, I think 8 months ago, 9 months ago. I'm an industry analyst and a content creator for an industrial marketing company. And I've also been putting a lot more time and effort into my own personal development of my brand and my content. So my LinkedIn channel is where I do all of my stuff. And the cool thing that I do with that is I do educational videos to teach people about products, solutions, industries, organizations like First Robotics, stuff like that.
Yep.
I use it as a platform for people to tell their stories, whether that's their story of their profession in a company or whether that's their story of their life as a professional,
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
doing
Now
business.
now you're on the other side here and you're telling your story. So
Yeah, I love how my journey started with like me in front of a camera, and then I had to learn how to do things behind a camera, and I never thought I'd get back in front of it. And then I've been on 13 podcasts. Um, I've spoken at 3 trade shows, and I'm the host for a YouTube series. So now I'm on the front end again.
yeah. Oh, that's cool. I wanted to ask, how'd you come up with manufacturing kid? I know it's kind of your slogan there. Did you come up with that? Did somebody else come up with that and give that to you? Can you tell us a story behind that?
So I did come up with that. I mean, it started as like I've been called a kid since I was a kid
Yeah.
because I started out in CNC machine when I was like 16, and
Yeah.
I'm going to schools and businesses to help teach their workers about like machining and like doing all, and they're like, why are we listening to this kid?
Mm.
Um, so that always stuck. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm like an MFG kid. And then it developed into, well, like, I'm not going to be a kid forever, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the qualities of a kid, because like I don't like that people use the kid word to try to demean me or like undermine people.
Yeah.
I don't like it that it's a bad word. Because if anybody called you, oh yeah, you're like a kid, like you're gonna get a little offended.
Yeah.
Like they're not saying childish, but if they call you, oh, this kid, you're a
Hmm.
little offended.
And
Um,
actually, that's one of the reasons why I grew my beard out after college was because I looked so young. And I was always same thing, always call the kid the young guy.
Mhm.
So I started growing it out, and I've literally never cut it for the last 15 years. I've always kept
so
the beard now. So same
so I
sort of
didn't
scenario.
I didn't like that. I don't like that it's used like that. I don't like that people feel like that. So it's actually turned into more than just my slogan now. And I've only talked about this on 2 other platforms because I'm still rolling it out, and it's gonna roll out next year. But I'm actually turning the MFG Kid into a website. So I bought
Cool.
the domain names for mfgkids.com and automationkids.com, and I'm working on a website that it's going to be this place where industry can go and learn about these schools and kids doing this amazing things from around the world. And it's also going to be a place for teachers to connect with one another, kids to connect with industry and see and learn just all this awesome stuff that's out there without it being like forced down their throats as like, oh, if you like this, that means you have to do it forever. This is your job now. I just want it to be a place for people to learn, communicate, and network. And so the MFG Kid brand is actually going to be given away to who I think is going to be the next MFG Kid. And then I'm going to give them a 6 month all expenses paid traveling with me through the country to trade shows to kickstart their career. So
Cool.
I'm at whatever I don't know if the next MFG kid wants to be a welder, be a fab guy, a laser girl. I don't know. Whatever the person wants to do,
Yep.
I'm going to pay for them to come with me to trade shows and introduce them to my network and
Cool.
hopefully get their career kicked off.
I'll be able to put those links at the bottom in the description. So then that way people will be able to follow those websites and go to those websites from our description directly
Nice.
from there. But I did want to touch on a little bit too about how you became the host, I guess, for MSC.
Mhm.
Could you talk a little bit about that
Yeah, it's
process?
one crazy story after another.
Yeah.
I wasn't even trying to do this. I was going about my normal days as an application engineer. I think I was I remember being heads down in like this $1.2 million project for a customer. And then I had three other things in the pipeline I was trying to do. I get a I get a call from like this guy that hit me up on LinkedIn. So like I recognized the name. I didn't know the number, but I was like, okay, this guy he somehow got my number. Called me, and it was the creative director, the VP for a company called Industrial Studios. Said that he heard about me through LinkedIn and through networks, and wanted to know if I'd be interested in learning more about this series. And I was like, oh yeah. So told him we just talked. Just told him about me, told him about my experience, what I'm passionate about. And then he was like, oh cool. Like I'll make sure to jot this down, call you back. Calls me back, but the next time he calls me, it's over like video call. And
Yep.
it was a video interview. It turned into a video interview that he recorded to send to the client.
I guess better to not know, and then that way you aren't as nervous, right?
I don't even think I knew it was for MSC still, like at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so long story short, like it turned into this thing where like, oh, I don't care. Like it's just this thing that's coming up. Like I don't want this, but I'll try for it. And then I think I had to beat out, I forget the exact, it was at least 100 or 100. It was in the hundreds of people in America to get this role. Um, and then when I found out I was in the top like 10, I was like, oh shoot, oh, like, this is kind of cool. And then I got in the top two, and I was like, oh my god, and like I was freaking out. Now I really wanted it. It was all that I was thinking about every day. And then I got it.
Cool.
I got it. I found out I was going to be the host for a series called How To for MSC Industrial Supply. I found out that I got to pick the first place that we shot at. I picked my good colleague's shop in Champaign, Illinois. We went in there, filmed 2 episodes, one on how to maximize machine productivity, another one on how to know if automation's right for you. And I learned a lot. I learned how to dress. I didn't I didn't wear like belts at the time, like because I didn't tuck my shirt in.
Hmm.
And so like and so I had to wear this collared shirt for MSC, tuck my shirt in, and the director the, and at this shoot, it's a director, two film guys, one audio guy. And the director's like, where's your belt? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't wear belts. And he's like, you don't wear belts. He took his belt off of his pants, Jim Olin, and gave me his belt. Um, and those were the first 2 episodes, and the first episode in 2 weeks got 10,000 views.
Wow.
It ended up getting up to 50K. It bumped up their YouTube channel from 3.7 K followers to, after that first episode went out, 10,000
Wow.
in almost a month. And then right now, between this series and 2 other series that we produce for them with different hosts,
Yep.
they're at 25,600 followers now.
Wow. Wow. You got to be pretty proud of helping them build that.
Oh
That's
my
really
god!
cool.
I mean, just being proud of being a part of the how, like building how to, but also being a part of the team, because that team, this team with MSC and Industrial Studios, also produces Tooling Up. They produce Quick Tips. They produce Help Wanted. So just even being associated with a team that gets to produce all of that is awesome. People love seeing it, hearing about it. I've talked about the series on like 4 podcasts. I talked about it at one trade show, and it's in a magazine. I got nominated for SME's 30 under 30 this year, and
Sweet.
I talked about it in there. People love it. If it's fun. It's not me trying to sell anything. It's not somebody else trying to sell anything. It's me going in there as a guy that loves this industry, is excited about what we're talking about, what I'm learning. Like
Yeah.
people think that like I have to fake like my excitement on camera, but like when I go into these businesses, I'm genuinely like like they have to keep me
Yeah.
on track. You should
Oh,
ask
that's
my
really cool over there, and then get you wandering. No, 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 come back this way. Come back.
you should
Don't
ask my
look behind
director
that curtain.
about keeping me on script.
Yeah.
I go off script a lot. But
Well,
it's
maybe that's
amazing.
why they're so good, right? I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen a couple episodes myself. Do you have a favorite how-to episode so far?
Yes. So, and this is like picking your favorite child. This is like picking your favorite puppy. Like I love all my dogs. Um, but my favorite episode was probably um how it's either how to maximize efficiency and process measurement, which is when we went to Hexagon.
Mhm.
Um, that was fun just because there was so much going on. Like we planned this interview where I was talking from one of the guys from Switzerland. That was awesome. Or it was when we went to the Norton St. Gobain. That's the one. That was the one. It's the one when we went to the Norton St. Gobain facility. It's episode number 3. Go check it out.
Okay.
I dawned on this entire grinding gear. Like I asked them, I was like, do you guys have power tools here? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, look at my director. I was like, can we get them to let me use a
Yeah.
grinding tool? Because I want to show people that like this is the dirty way, and this is the way that like men grew up in the industry having to work 12 hours a day in this stuff, and now
Yeah.
you can use robotics to help amplify productivity with R&D
Yep.
when
Yep.
you're testing your parts and your wheels. And so I wanted to send that home, and they let me do it. So there's the opening video is me just grinding
Yep.
on this thing in this attire.
I've seen that one. I've
Yeah,
seen that one.
they
So
let me keep the wheel after too. So that's probably
perfect.
my favorite.
And and on that, I guess you kind of did touch on presenting a little bit.
Mhm.
What are some of your tips when you go to some of these events and present? How do you do some research? Do
Mhm.
you have PowerPoint slides? What do you do to prepare yourself for some of these events?
So I'll say what I do to prepare myself. Then also, if anybody's trying to like get into doing more speaking for their industry, like I don't care if you're in healthcare or automotive, whatever.
Yeah,
There's shows and events for everybody's industry.
yeah,
Um, Pick like maybe 1 to 3 of your favorite things that you feel like you're a mentor in or you can be a guide in, and hone in on that for like your PowerPoint and your speeches and your titles and stuff.
yeah,
So 1 to 3. And then I recommend if you do get a gig, um, doing your first gig as a 2 piece. So where it's you and somebody else on stage. I think that'll just help a lot of people that aren't used to being on stage because now it's more conversational instead of just you talking to the audience. That was my first one was with me and my buddy Ian Stork.
yeah,
We talked about finding your passion in manufacturing, and it was cool because we hit on it from 2 angles. He is a hardcore, incredible video guy, videographer, has his own business, editor, amazing, and fell into manufacturing. And then I was in manufacturing and then fell into video. So it meshed really well. It made for an amazing kickoff to now, after you get that first speech done, other people saw that speech and they're like, oh, well, we want this guy to come talk about this. And
yeah,
that's how I got my other ones.
yeah.
Um, I try not to get in my own head a lot, like, and people all do their speeches differently and stuff. I have a lot of, I make it very much like a play or a theater. Like I bring props when I speak. Like I have my robot arm on stage. I have a machinist briefcase that has all my machine parts in there. Like I
Yeah.
bring that stuff. I'll have somebody help me pass things out to the audience while I'm talking. Like it's very hands-on visual.
Interactive. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's how I like to do mine, and then I add in a lot of video into my speeches, so it's not just like slide, text.
Right.
Um, so that's kind of my vibe when I go out and speak.
Yeah, cool. And do you think is that also what's helped you build such a great social media presence and following, do you think, from, your on-screen presence from your recorded stuff plus doing all these different events? Like you said earlier, I mean, you are a social media guru, so you definitely got a good content you're consistently putting out, a good following and building more and more each day. So
I I try to do what I can, and definitely the people that do follow me and support me are the only reason that I can do it sometimes, because there's been plenty of times where I do not think I am a guru of any sort, or I don't think the content that I'm doing is good, and then I have a DM slip in from somebody saying, a stranger saying, hey, like I saw this video or I heard you talk about this. I really loved what you said here. Like, can we connect? I had a woman that DM'd me one time after I did a mental health talk, and she said, hey, you don't know me obviously, but I do mental health TikToks. And you talked about imposter syndrome in this article. And so I made a imposter syndrome TikTok for you. And then she sent me this TikTok
Oh,
that she made for her audience and because of me.
yeah.
Um, so I definitely don't think I'm that big in the social realm, but the audience that I have and the people that support me definitely make me feel like I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
And I've heard, because they've told me, I've heard that two of the things that the reason that certain people like my platform is there's no ego in it. So when I started my platform, you can go back to and look at the videos. You never saw me. It was videos of products of people telling their stories. You wouldn't even know it was my account if there wasn't me as the profile picture.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, Jacob, you gotta show them you. Like people want to hear about you too.
Yeah.
So they loved coming there for that. And they also love coming to a place where everything is original. Everything that is on my channel is filmed by me, edited by me. It's people stories or it's me talking about something. Like it's not anything that I took somewhere and then just put it here for you to see.
Yeah.
There's other places for you to go and do your own research or find other people's channels that do that for you. And because the channels like that or people that do that, where they take something and post it and talk about it, is great for awareness and getting conversations going. So I definitely don't knock that, but I definitely like that everything that you'll ever see here is original and it's real.
Yeah, that's great. And that's actually one of the things I do as well is I'm usually posting only my content from my different companies or
Nice.
social media stuff that I do. It's just it's different, unique. You don't need copycats out there doing the same thing as everybody else, right? So I think that's definitely a something that I've noticed as well is I'll get a lot of followers if I do a certain post about a certain
Mm-hmm.
topic that no one else is really talking about. So
Yeah.
I did want to ask though, you are a very busy guy. It sounds like how work-life balance, what's that mean to you? I mean, are you grinding Monday through Friday and then the weekends you're off, or what's your schedule look like?
So this is the other thing too that like people try to make themselves feel bad about. They're like, "Oh, Jacob, like I can't do the like how you do and blah blah." And I'm like, "Good. That means you have a family."
Yeah.
Because I don't have a family. It's just me. So it's just me. I'm able to I have my colleagues, I have work friends. I don't do much outside of that. So I have all this time. I do a lot of volunteer work. Like I like investing my time into schools, and
Yeah.
I go and do public speaking at schools. I'll go and work with the classes and help like teach and stuff. I volunteer as first robotics judge the past 6 years. Um,
Very
so
cool.
that's kind of my life aspect to get away from work, even though it's still kind of work.
Hmm.
Um, and that makes me happy. So I do that, and I spend a lot of time like going outside and going to gardens and museums or cooking. I'm a big little home cook. Um, so that's kind of how I balance that. But a good portion of it is work. So I do have to have a variety of non-work things to kind of try to weave in there.
Yeah. Yeah, good, good. And then before we wrap up here, where can people, reach out and connect with you? Are you only on LinkedIn? Is there anywhere else that they can reach out? I know we talked a little bit about your other websites. We'll put
Mhm.
the description of those below. But is there anywhere else you'd like people to contact you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Jacob Sanchez for sure. You'll see all my content there. Because of this Japan trip, I'm actually starting a TikTok. So I've been working on getting a bunch of videos like clipped up and done so I can have like a good little batch. So I'll have a TikTok too. We can drop that in the comments.
Yep.
I'm going to try to see if Jake Makes is available as a name because like ever since I started my career, my family, whenever they try to talk about like what I do, they're like, "Oh, Jacob makes videos, or he makes like robots, or he used to make like aerospace." And so it's always like Jake makes this, Jake
That's
makes
good.
this.
Maybe that's what your new slogan should be
Yeah.
when you change from
Once I give the
manufacturing.
MFG kid to somebody,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's what you should do. So, Jake, appreciate you being on today's episode. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please give us a like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. And we hope that you join us here next time on Engineers and Automation. Thanks.
Thank you.